Text 1.
Yes, Mataji, you can go ahead.
Yeah, thank you much. Text 1. Lord Brahma said, "O my Lord, today after many, many years of penance, I have come to know about you. Oh, how unfortunate the embodied living entities are that they are unable to know your personality. My Lord, you are the only knowable object because there is nothing supreme beyond you. If there is anything supposedly superior to you, it is not the absolute. You exist as the supreme by exhibiting the creative energy of matter." Text 2. The form which I see is eternally freed from material contamination and has advantage to show mercy to the devotees as a manifestation of internal potency. This incarnation is the origin of many other incarnations, and I am born from the lotus flower grown from your navel home. Text 3. O my Lord, I do not see a form superior to your present form of eternal bliss and knowledge. In your impersonal Brahman effulgence, in the spiritual sky, there is no occasional change and no deterioration of internal potency. I surrender unto you because, whereas I am proud of my material body and senses, your Lordship is the cause of the cosmic manifestation, and yet you are untouched by matter. Text 4. This present form or any transcendental form expanded by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, is equally auspicious for all the universes. Since you have manifested this eternal, um, eternal personal form upon whom your devotees meditate, I therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Those who are destined to be dispatched to the path of hell neglect your personal form because of speculating on material topics. Text 5. O my Lord, persons who smell the aroma of your lotus feet, carried by the air of Vedic sound through the holes of the ears, accept your devotional service. For them, you are never separated from the lotus of their hearts. Text 6. O my Lord, the people of the world are embraced by all material anxieties. They are always afraid. They always try to protect wealth, body, and friends. They are filled with lamentation and unlawful desires and paraphernalia, and they avariciously base their undertakings on the perishable conceptions of my and mine. As long as they do not take shelter of your safe lotus feet, they are they are full of such anxieties. Text 7. O my Lord, persons who are bereft of the all auspicious performances of chanting and hearing about your transcendental activities are certainly unfortunate and are also bereft of good sense. They engage in inauspicious activities, enjoying sense gratification for a very little while. Text 8. O great actor, my lord, all these poor creatures are constantly perplexed by hunger, thirst, severe cold, secretion, and bile, attacked by coughing winter, blasting summer, rains, and many other disturbing elements, and overwhelmed by strong sex urges and indefatigable anger. I take pity on them and I am very much aggrieved for them. Text 9. O my Lord, the material miseries are without factual existence for the soul. Yet, as long as the conditioned soul sees the body as meant for sense enjoyment, he cannot get out of the entanglement of material miseries being influenced by your external energy. Text 10. Such non devotees engage their senses in very troublesome and extensive work, and they suffer insomnia at night because their intelligence constantly breaks their sleep with various mental speculations. They are frustrated in all their various plans by supernatural power. Even great sages, if they are against your transcendental topics, must rotate in this material world. Text 11. O my Lord, your devotees can see you through the ears by the process of bona fide hearing, and thus their hearts become cleansed, and you take their seat there. You are so merciful to your devotees that you manifest yourself in that particular eternal form of transcendence in which they always think of you. Thank you, Mataji.
So much, Prashanti Mataji. Sundaracala Prabhuji, Dandapana Prabhuji, all goes to Srila Prabhupada. Prabhuji, whenever you are ready, please take over the call. Do you want me to stop sharing the screen, Prabhuji? Do you want
go
to
ahead,
share?
keep sharing, Mataji. I don't need to share anything actually.
Sure.
Thank you so much, Prashanti Mataji, for reading today's verses. And I'll just start with brief prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Putre Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatharini. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gauru Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. So we are discussing, dear devotees, today about chapter 9 from third canto. Yesterday's discussion by Krishna Vendas Prabhuji explained about Parampara of Bhagavatam. He explained about Brahma's birth, beautiful darshan of Garbhodaka Sai Vishnu is described. And today we're going to continue that discussion and prayers of Brahmaji. And this is going to take a little while because it's very, very important verses. All the 11 of the verses that we're going to discuss are very nectarian, and often we can use them for meditation while chanting the essence of these verses. And Brahma is going to reveal his lot of secrets in these verses. So please pay close attention. Hare Krishna. So 3.9.1. So, oh my Lord, today after many, many years of penance, I have come to know about you. But people would not come to know you are, people who cannot know you are very unfortunate. You are the only knowable object. So we need to pay, this is a very important point where Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the only knowable object. It is declared by Brahmaji. So our attempts to know different people in this world are actually an attempt to know Krishna. We are trying to know energies of Krishna. But unless that energy is connected to Krishna, it's not actually worth knowing. So by seeing all this, you shall know supreme knowable object is Krishna. So he addresses different people with different themes of this world, unto whom, etc. But every object in this universe is primarily connected with Krishna. Our attempt to know or interact with the object is actually an attempt to know Krishna. So we are constantly trying to interact with Krishna and trying to know him. That's what is every attempt in this world. Is in an ignorant, incorrect way or forgetful way, in a covered way. So the impure objects, they appear to be superior to the Lord only because of Maya illusion. So what is worth knowing is it's Krishna only. So everything is, because everything is originating from him, aham sarvasya prabhava mattas sarvam pravartate. Because Krishna existed before anything is created, aham eva samevagre. And then that Krishna is source of everything. Janmadhyasya anvayat abhignaswarat. And people are unaware of this fact that there is a supreme cause behind this manifestation, which is Vishnu. So the intervening impediment for this process of understanding is considered to be illusory energy of Lord, which is called Maya. We have to know the cause which is Vishnu, which is Krishna. Something else seems to be the cause. That's impediment, Maya. That's in essence. So we are being diverted from our attempt to know Krishna. Study this instead, study that instead. So indirect attempt, that is getting caught up in the research work of studying, spark of Krishna's splendor in this material world. People are spending their whole life there and understanding and material aspects of his creation. And as you can see, so in previous classes, we have also discussed about Krishna, Maitreya discussing Krishna Katha. Vidura asked questions about Jiva and Ishvara. So basically, Jiva is spiritual. Why, the question was asked, why the connection between Jiva and body then? The misidentification is the answer. Just like once had been cut off. So we discussed this topic. Similarly, if one thinks that Lord is connected with material world, that is illogical. That's the conclusion. So some questions in this chapter, Maitreya Vidura says, all this knowledge that you described becomes realized only when I serve you, dear Maitreya. Like that, Vidura also concludes. So when Vidura asks questions which are asked by Parikshit Maharaj in 2nd canto, 8th chapter, so Maitreya Muni continues creation pastimes. After Lord enters universe as Garbhodakasaya Vishnu, then Brahma will manifest. Parampara, Bhagavatam also described, and then Brahmaji's birth and so on, beautiful darshan was described. So in this, in these verses, the most Prabhupada highlighted, most stalwart scientists only appear wonderful because they are instruments in the hands of Lord's illusory energy. Instruments of Lord's illusory energy. These are all people who think they are great people. They are nothing but instruments of Lord's energy. People are more interested in the work of scientists. Like they come up with smartphones, satellites, weapons, missiles, but not on the works of acharyas. People are least interested, most of the people, on works of acharyas. These philosophers, speculative literature on impersonal or some other Krishna's nature. People are very much interested into those whoever have a little bit of spiritual interest. So people are more impressed by those kind of literatures than on a bona fide acharya's description on Swarupa of the Lord. Why these people are becoming prominent? Because they are instruments in the hands of the illusory energy of the Lord. So Prabhupada is highlighting. We must see such people who are convincing us that this material world, as all in all, permanent, are nothing but representations of Maya. So they are acting as a humble, menial, submissive, subordinate instruments of Maya's will. So Maya empowered them. They're representatives of Maya. It's up to us whether we have to submit to the representative of Maya or representative of Krishna. Abhignya Swarat. Scientists actually are not, they are not Swarat. They are not independent. Similarly, they are not Abhignya. They are not all cognizant like Krishna. The one can know supreme cause by causeless mercy of the Lord. Till Lord reveals Brahma, he could not understand the form of the Lord. Until then, his attempts were a failure for the vision of the Lord. After this revelation, Brahmaji is sharing his realizations in these prayers. So foolish living, Prabhupada says, foolish living beings who don't appreciate the beauty or opulence of the Lord are condemned here. It's unfortunate. It's criticized by Brahma. Swan versus crows, Prabhupada gives an analogy. Swans are effulgent, crows are ugly, but many people, so you can see many people get attracted to, you can see that some people get attracted to crow and many people might get attracted to crow because they get to see only crow and click for, who, if you have to take a photograph, whom will we click a photograph? People will take a photograph of, swan, but not the crow, right? So that proves that, though the birds have by birth are birds, these are two are birds only, but they are not of the same feather. Similarly, analyzers of external energy of the Lord, like scientists, reporters, movie actors, sports, legends, although they have more fan following, admiration, worship from worldly people, they are not comparable to the devotees of the Lord because they have taken shelter of the Bhagavatam. They are in much better position. So after glorifying Lord's personality, so Brahma glorified various aspects of Lord's form from verse 2. This form of yours is manifested by your internal potency. So it is devoid of any contamination, material contamination. For how long? Is it 1 hour or 2 hours? Shashvat nivrutta tamasaha. Eternally it is devoid of material contamination. So he takes this form out of compassion to the devotees. Sadanugrahaya. And then Garbhodakaya Vishnu is described here as origin. And in fact, the Karanodakasaya Vishnu is described here as an origin of many other incarnations. Ete chamsa kalapamsha krishnastu swayam bhagavan. So there is a we can relate it to the line here. Adau gruhitam avataras sataika bijam, the root, bijam, the root. So that's how Brahma recites the prayer. The treasure of a house of souls is the source of everyone. He is inexhaustible. Despite how many expansions come out of him, he still stays with the same potency. That's why he is inexhaustible. So he is also aham, avirasham. So it is here explained, lotus emanating from the navel of the Lord. Brahmaji has taken birth from that lotus. From Karanodakasaya Vishnu only all incarnations manifest. Medium through, he is the medium through which all the incarnations descend onto this world. Actually, Karanodakasaya Vishnu. Sorry, I mean Kshirodakasaya Vishnu. So the verse 3, as per Brahma's understanding, the personal form of Krishna, here Garbhodakasaya Vishnu who was addressed here, I am seeing is supreme most form. This personal form is superior to impersonal Brahman effulgence. This is a right, it's a proof right here, to the impersonalist. He can refer to this 3.9.3. It is here Brahma is addressing, you are superior to this Brahman effulgence. I surrendered unto you because you are that personal form who is superior to everything. And how Brahma gets this understanding when nothing exists yet? Because of bhakti, penance. One can understand Lord partially only by bhakti. And as you have, Prabhupada quotes here, Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Anantarupam, that verse. Vedeshu Durlamam Adurlamam Atma Bhakto. Very difficult to understand the Lord by self-endeavor, self-study of Vedas or a mundane study of Vedas. But when you hear from his bona fide devotees, then you will understand very easily. So, Ardurlabham Atma Bhakto, that's what it means. So, by devotion, one will understand that Brahmajyoti is partial representation of the Lord. Vadanti tat tattvavidas tattvam. In that verse, 1.2.11, but devotees, intelligent people understand that he exists in three features. That is actually three features of absolute truth. But unintelligent people say absolute truth is only one feature, like Brahman. Absolute truth, only Paramatma. Bhagavan feature, they say, is something like bogus. There is no form, etc., etc. That's all light only, some people say, right? So it is, devotees understand the three features, also understand Bhagavan is the supreme feature. They understand that Bhagavan is the supreme feature among the of the absolute truth. So when we get to meet such a devotee, Atma Bhakta, then we will understand the Lord. So in the fourth verse, the personal form of the Lord, which is Krishna's form, is meant for auspiciousness and prosperity of entire universe. Those who are worshippers of this form will get darshan of this form. They have to worship, then only they will get darshan of this form. And you might have heard Rudra, in Rudra Gita at some point in our previous classes, that in your past classes, that Shiva is saying, we are eager to see only that form of yours that is worshipped by the purest devotees, Paramahamsas. So that is perfect, because Shiva is saying that is perfect, that will perfectly satisfy all the demands of the senses. That's why we want to see only darshan of that form. And then he pays obeisances, Lord Brahma, to the Supreme Lord. And then he also categorizes here. He gives a discrimination on, there is another category of people that exist. There are who are destined to go to hell. He says, na yo anadruto naraka bhagbir asat prasangaihi. What he's saying is such persons who are absorbed in mundane topics, asat prasanga, magazines, it could be 24/7 news, it could be social media, movies, sports, wars, Russian war, etc., updates, stock market. They are all asat prasangai. Kukatamatihi, their intelligence is corrupted by such wrong topics. Such people are Naraka Bhagbir. Prabhupada says they are all pilgrims to hell. They are booking their tickets to hell. One out of 26 hellish planets, no waiting list for booking tickets. So tickets are automatically booked. Naraka Bhagbir. They speculate on because they speculate on material topics, having no interest in Krishna Katha. When Krishna Katha is going on, Yamaraj is sitting and hearing. So who will be taken to hell? Nobody. So it means keeping Yamaraj and Yamadutas away. Not doing Krishna Katha means inviting Yamaraj and his Yamadutas, them in the service of booking tickets to the hell. So that's what I heard from a class. It's very interesting. Unfortunately, most people are going there only. We will see more in Bhagavatam, 5th canto, 28th chapter. Not only Kukata people, materialistic people, persons addicted to impersonal feature, Prabhupada says, of the Lord, whether in the meditation or otherwise, are pilgrims to hell only. It's not that Lord's effulgence is hell, but it is as good as hell because there is no opportunity to serve lotus feet of the Lord. That's why devotee consider this as hellish. Heaven is actually not hellish, but heaven is also described to be hell because 5th canto it is described Atishaya Indriya Utsavat. There is a celebration of the senses in heavenly realms. We get feast once, probably in Radhashtami, and some festivals like that. But there, every meal is a feast. Eyes are constantly seeing beautiful objects. Ears get to hear beautiful, wonderful music. Sense of touch is constantly getting association of opposite gender. There is Indriya Utsavad. They didn't stop there, so that's why it is, heavenly realms are considered, are depicted here as hellish because of all this. This is Indriya Utsava. They didn't stop there. Atishaya Indriya Utsava. That means very exaggerated, high grade sense gratification is available there. So despite of eating more, no digestion problems, no children even indulged in illicit sex, no conception. So here, when one engages in Maithuna, child come out, right? One has to take care of him for life. So, I mean, at least until he grows up. But it's full of distractions. There is no distraction. Full sense gratification is available in the heavenly realms. In that condition, how will one perform devotional service because of excessive sense gratification? So devotee considers that position to be hellish. This is the reason. And that's why impersonal liberation, the desire, aspirations of having them is also considered hellish. A Narakanam 4.20.23, it is mentioned, Ye Narakanam api shanti dehinam. 4 Kumaras say in the prayers that, my dear Lord, I don't want Kaivalya, I don't want Sarga Prapti, because these are available to even residents of hell. Give me millions of years so that I can hear your Krishna Katha. And he says, Sutta Goswami also said, Bhaktya Srota Gruhitaya. You understand Vedas through bhakti. By performing the bhakti, you will be able to understand the essence of Vedas much better. Like that is Bhaktya Srota Gruhitaya. So, Avajanantimam Mudha, like that is a verse, right? Lord Rama comes, he is a human. The impersonally considered he is bogus. They say he also is crying. I am also crying for 5. So he must be also a regular human being. And he also does many things like human beings only. So what is the big thing there? So they don't give importance to the forms of Lord. Rather, they actually deride the forms of the Lord. Such people are destined to hell. As for Prabhupada. The next 5th verse. Lotus feet, like Lord inside part, it emanates fragrance. So how is that fragrance carried? Who is the receiver of that fragrance of lotus feet of Supreme Lord? Shruti Vata Nitam, carried by the air of Vedic sound to where? When someone smells that Jigrati, how? When someone smells it, he is willing to Karna Vivarai, through one's ears. One can smell through ears. Lord's lotus feet's fragrance. How? By hearing of Krishna Katha is equivalent to smelling lotus feet of the Lord. That is what is described in this verse. And what is the effect? A feeling of devotional service is invoked in the heart of such a person when he attempts to accept the lotus feet of the Lord. Krishna will not leave his heart, whose heart is filled with him, Brahma says. He wants to be captivated and locked up there. Krishna himself would like to be locked up in such hearts. Because he's a dweller of devotees' heart. So who smells him through the ears. Ishvaro Sadhyo Hrudi Aparudhyate Attar Kurtabi, in the second verse of first chapter of Bhagavatam, first canto. Sushrushabhistakshana. Lord also does not wish to be separated from lotus hearts of devotee. Bonding happens through Krishna Katha. So all of have forgotten, and we are here basically to revive our forgotten relationship with Krishna. How will that revival happen? Is through the medium of Krishna Katha. So last relationship is revived by Srimad Bhagavatam, confirmed by Brahmaji here. So because of devotional service, relationship develops, and it is based on authenticity of the Vedas. Whatever we hear, we do read, have to have some kind of whatever we do have to have some reference to authentic scriptures. Guru, Sadhu, Shastra need to confirm it. Otherwise, then only the progress can happen in one's endeavor to understand the absolute truth to some extent. So pure devotees are not mundane sentimentalists. Their activities are supported by Vedic authorities. Here Prabhupada is confirming. Next one is 6th verse, from 6th to 10th. 5 verses, Brahmaji glorified Lord Supreme Form, dwells in the heart. Until now, he was glorifying the Supreme Lord, because as he's dwelling in the heart, he's a supreme knowable object, his original form superior to impersonal Brahman. How his form is very auspicious, like that he explained. Now, from 5th to 10th verse, he describes the predicament of conditioned soul, the embarrassment faced by conditioned souls. There is a fear in the heart of conditioned soul because of attachment, disidentification with wealth, body, relatives. Dravina deha surun nimittam. So because of which there is a lamentation, criminal desires, great attachment to illusory paraphernalia, binding, as further he binds him and makes him fearful. That's what Brahmaji is saying. He has a deep conception of me and mine, ahammameti. So he is constantly in anxiety. So when will these anxieties end? Brahma is saying until they take shelter of safe lotus feet of Lord. Safe lotus feet of Lord. Lotus feet bestow abhayam. He is embarrassed by constant fear and lamentation till he takes shelter. He has to suffer. So pure devotees also have Dravina Deha Surun, family man. Still he is not affected. Even though he is a family man, a devotee, he never thinks he is a proprietor of wife, children, home, paraphernalia, vehicles, right? Lord is a proprietor. I am just a caretaker. I will take care of these belongings and engage them in the service of Lord. So he surrenders everything unto Supreme Lord service. So that's why there is no fear for such a person. Even if it is attraction for wealth, it is not for sense enjoyment, utilizes for the service of the Lord. Acquisition of wealth is normally considered as a source of anxiety for a materialistic person, but it is considered an opportunity to render service for devotee. Hence, there is no fear. So the poisonous teeth of accumulating wealth from a snake, the venomous snake, are extracted when we engage in the service of the Lord. Snake is there, but it is not poisonous. Its fangs are removed, so it is no longer harmful. It may bite, but nothing will happen. Apparently, devotee may be midst of wealth, but he is not affected by it. So the conditions of, next verse says, the conditions of unfortunate souls are further described in this verse. Their intelligence is lost, Brahma says. Why? Bhavata prasangat vimukha. They turned against your topics. So Lord's glories have power to mitigate all inauspiciousness in one's life. Brahma is saying, these people who have turned away from such topics, they work a lot to get some little happiness. The poor fellows, he clearly says, poor fellows, Dina, work so hard, overwhelmed by greed. They are engaged always in inauspicious activities, overwhelmed by because of the greed. And text is why they cannot take shelter of the lotus feet. In the text 6, you might have noticed why they cannot take shelter of the lotus feet, because here it is said in this 7th verse, they turned away their faces from the Lord. They continue to engage in offensive activity, misfortune comes on their way, sense gratification, indulging. Pure devotees of the Lord, however, take compassion on such people only by the grace of a pure devotee. Unfortunate souls such as these are elevated to devotional service. So in verse 8, seeing such suffering of jivas is, actually the suffering of such jivas is further described by Brahma. Like he describes, this is one of the very confidential verses that Brahmaji reveals. Hunger, thirst, secretion of bile, mucus, wind, repeatedly troublesome, bothersome things like kshutrut, tridhatu bir, ima muhur, ardyamanaha. So Brahma is saying, Sitoshna vata varashair itararacha, by cold, heat, wind, varshair, rains, and many other things, itaras. Here, if you further go into the 12th chapter of the 3rd canto, Brahma only created all these features in the creation. What are those? Five ajnana vrittis, 5 features of nescience were created by Brahma. And what are those? Tamaha, darkness in knowledge. Moham, he creates a illusion. Mahamoham is the 3rd one that he creates, which is considered as a possessiveness, proprietorship mentality. And tamishram, anger upon frustration. That is the 4th one he creates. Andha tamishram, death. This is what Brahmaji has created first, actually. In the 12th chapter, it is described, this material world is meant for jiva's reformation. So these kshutrut tridhatu bir ima muhur sitoshna vata varshair itaracha, all these things are creations of all to actually frustrate the jiva in this material world, so that he realizes it. After that, material world is supposed to give suffering to conditioned souls, and Brahma had to create software of suffering. Then he creates hardware bodies so that jivas can dwell here in this world. So because of all this, he also creates these arjas, kshatrut trithatubir, the group of ferocious, these arjas are nothing but ferocious personalities troubling conditioned soul. All these factors are constantly troubling the soul in this world. Brahmaji himself is feeling so bad about, my God, he felt so bad about his own creation, because he wants to serve Lord, but at the same time he understands the suffering that jivas will endure because of this creation. The fire of lust and is constantly blazing from constant fire. Doctors say how often men feel lusty. An ideal man could feel every 6 to 7 minutes he could feel lusty on an average, doctors say. Achyuta rusha, infallible anger. So people एक बार गुस्सा आ जाए तो कुछ भी कर देता, like he wants to punch people's faces, whatever, to fulfill his anger, right? That is called a rusha. And sudur barena, unbearable. All these problems are constantly harassing the problem, a jiva. Kabagnya achyuta rusha sadur bharena. So the fire of lust and the anger, everything is constantly tormenting the jiva. So I have taught him a lesson by teaching him a lesson. People might think like this. Here, you know, it is, when I hear in the lecture, it was told that this kind of a mentality that I am teaching someone a lesson is, it is actually unnecessary, because it will cause harm to us. Forget about you are causing trouble to others, but it actually cause trouble to you, because your consciousness is polluted. So lusty feelings come. What shall I do? We chant better. And let's open Bhagavatam and read some episode like Ayati. What did he do? Um, so we devotee usually become alarmed when anarthas manifest, but non-devotees, it is rarely, they feel rarely alarmed in such situations. They sometimes they want to stay high forever. Lust or anger feelings arise. Sadhaka somehow wanted to come out of it. They want to subdue it, but for others, they want to continue. They don't realize. Brahma is clarifying here. You're not realizing jivas. You're all suffering by going through all that. So unbearable. And after seeing all this suffering, my mind is getting tormented. Brahma is saying, feeling compassion to the conditioned souls who are being tormented by all these factors. So Brahmaji is being pitiful on these people, seeing perplexity of conditioned souls, not knowing adequate measures for such difficulties. Suffering person sometimes pose leaders as of the people. He doesn't know solution for his suffering, but he poses as a leader. What leader will what this kind of a leader will do? He will lead them more to more suffering. So that's why in Prahlad Maharaj says in 7.5.31, Anda yathandhair upaniyamana, is blind person leads another blind into dark well. And what happens? So all these blind leaders lead their followers to hell. They will go to hell and take some others. Tum bhi aa jao, like that. They will also take. So in the beginning only, Srimad Bhagavatam confirmed people are misguided by leaders, right? Mandashu manda bhagya upadritaha. The devotees of the Lord who take voluntary, Prabhupada is saying, voluntary responsibility to raise these foolish materialistic sense enjoyers. Prabhupada is very choicey words. He's saying, devotees of Lord who take voluntary responsibility to raise the foolish materialistic sense enjoyers are confidential to Lord as Brahma. A voluntary preaching spirit should be there. That's what Prabhupada is saying, connecting people to Krishna. So in 9th verse, 7th chapter also, as long as seeing body in relationship with the soul is happening because of misidentification. One has to see them separate from the soul, right? That is actually self-realization. So one may be, in this verse it is described, one may be having attachment to subtle body and identify constantly seeing bodily comforts like having a nice bed, house, and so on and so forth, trying to attract opposite gender because they have gross bodily conception. So after practicing some devotional service, we may get to a level where like for example brahmachari, they wear more or less the same dress every day, and in renounced order also. So minds are free from gross bodily conception for devotees. So but the next level, nothing gross to think about, because if you see brahmacharis, they don't have to think about things like Atmaja, Suta, Agara, I mean, my friend, my son, my children, Agara, Dravina, Bandhu, they don't have all these liabilities. So brahmacharis have 7 times more time than grahasthas. So this extra time they invest in the Lord, and that's how sometimes they fall victim for ego, because they have so much time, they will invest that in the ego sometimes when we divert a little bit. One may identify with mental concoctions, intellectual convictions, egoistic conceptions, right? These are all subtle body conceptions. They are also harmful. So one raising above subtle body conceptions of material mind, intelligence, and ego as servant, has as a servant of Krishna, in order to raise from these, we surrender to Guru. So in order to raise from these mental conceptions at a subtle body level, though we engage in, we understand and come out of the gross material indulging of all these things, the subtle engagement is always there. So when we surrender to Guru, that's where we get help, because he is thousands of times more powerful in terms of emotion, in terms of bhakti. So that's why we take shelter. So it's better to follow him. So follow a Guru. So spiritualizing our subtle body um, um, is a difficult part. We take help of Guru for that and put a sincere effort. And then what will, so 10th verse, it is mentioned, frustration of a conditioned soul is further elaborated in 10th verse. So much hard working, unable to sleep in the night because of insomnia, because of so much of passion in plan making. What do I do tomorrow? Right? Due to lack of sleep, they doze off next day. But so Prabhupada is saying, Brahmaji is predicting all this in the beginning of creation, that people will face insomnia. All this has been created for frustrating the conditioned soul in the world, who is trying to make permanent arrangements. So to make him realize that he is supposed to serve Krishna, to make him agree that he should serve Krishna. So we come back to senses by reading all these verses. So, and then he works so hard to get one car, Jiva, or one apartment. At the age of 50, 55, hardly we have any more age left to enjoy the apartment or whatever house we bought. So he is attached to the house, and when he leave the body, Brahma is saying, Prabhupada is saying, the person could potentially become uh, a animal or a pet in that house. For example, in one occasion, Prabhupada says he sees a bent tree towards the house. The tree is bent. So he says it must have been a owner of this house in its previous life. So Brahmaji is predicting all this here in this verse. Even greatest sages, they are all unable to come out of their senses because of various mental speculations, plans are frustrated. All this is because of what? Brahmaji is saying because of lack of Krishna Katha. Lack of Krishna Katha is a root cause. Why Smaranti means rotate, Samsharanti, means rotating birth and death cycle. Being averse to the Krishna Katha, lack of interest in Krishna Katha is the root cause of all problems of material existence. So human logic may not be able to accommodate this thought. How will it solve my problem? Human reasons will fail to understand how will hearing Krishna Katha one come out of material existence or come close to Krishna. We might understand by some extent. When we hear or read for a while, then we will be forgetful of this fact. Prabhupada says factory is another name of hell. When exhausted by day work, all night hellishly engaged men are engaged in wine and women to satisfy their tired senses. What is that experience called? Brahmaji is saying, according to Prabhupada, it is a hell. For example, we can think, you're unable to sleep because of work, stressful work. Is it not a hell? It is a hell, right? So it is, there are among 26 hellish planets, there is one hell where inmates cannot sleep. They are not allowed to sleep. So it is considered as hell only if one cannot sleep because of too much planning. Scientists in the material world must have been awarded best of their creations. But what is the material nature awarding them? Repeated birth and death. One may put posters on the street, despite he left the world. Few decades have passed. People remember him as a pioneer. He's a great scientist. He created so many things. But but if he is in hell, what is the use of accomplishing all this? Any material accomplishment other than rendering devotional service will only increase one's tenure in this material world. It is not at all intelligent to run behind any material aspiration. These aspirations are as temporary as this material world. Material aspiration should not creep into the one's practice of bhakti. So, like for example, fame, controllership, getting name of doing seva, there cannot be, they should not creep into our devotional service practice. And then, I'll get to the last verse, final verse, and conclude. So 6th verse of this chapter, Brahma says, Lord dwells in the heart of devotees who smell his lotus feet through ears. Ears acting as nose on that verse. Here also it is described as Lord is the dweller of heart of devotees who see him through ears, not like through nose, but through ears. How? Here ears acting as eyes. And that is the power of sound vibration, Prabhupada is saying. So it is a sound, actually, ears are a very important sense, actually. When someone is performing advanced bhakti, 100% engaged without any deviation, a matured bhakti, for such a person, Hrit Saroja Ase, Lord enters his heart. And Krishna will enter through the sound vibration into the ears of a sincere hearer and sits in the hearts of a person. Something similar, right? We have Pravishta Karnarandrena verse you might have heard before. This is of a similar nature here. If he has learned art of seeing things through the scriptures, Shastra Chakshu, object and situation in this world, through the senses of, through the perspective of scriptures, and when he remembers philosophical verse, when he come across a situation in life, to that is a that is what is expected here. Lord has capacity to reciprocate. For such kind of a person who is 100% into the bhakti, Lord's hit sits in his heart because of his hearing, sincere hearing. Whether they meditate, Lord will manifest in front of them in the whatever form they would like to Lord to see the Lord. So here Lord is reciprocating exactly the form that devotee desires. So here Lord has a capacity to reciprocate, tailor-made, specifically for one devotee. Lord has unlimited capacity to reciprocate unlimited jivas like this. But so here however, there is one caution is that we should not consider him. Lord is not a order supplier. It doesn't mean that Lord will become a devotee becomes a dictator. Lord will dance according to his will. No. So Brahma said in the beginning itself has 100% matured bhakti, right? Bhaktya yoga pratibhavita. And we are doing some service to Krishna eternally. We have some duty. So devotional service is a way of reviving that forgotten relationship with Krishna. And this particular attachment is invoked by hearing, as per this last 11th verse. Conclusion is that Lord cannot become our order supplier of a pseudo devotee, Prabhupada says, but he is always prepared to respond to the desires of pure unconditional devotee, who is free from tinges of all material desires. And that's it for today, dear devotees. Please forgive me for I had to cover a lot of verses with a lot of philosophy in it. Thank you so much, Hare Krishna. And let's offer obeisances
so
to
much.
the devotees.
पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। ग्रंथ श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। His Grace Sundaracala Das Prabhuji to this. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for beautiful class.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.